Welcome everyone to another video. My name is King IV and we are going to be doing an analysis around minimal IVs for Bastiodon. So Bastiodon is a very meta defining Pokemon, but it is also a very expensive Pokemon because the candies are very difficult to obtain because the Shieldons don't hatch very often and they don't spawn very often in the wild. So they oftentimes people have to put rare candy, and then as well you need to bring it to level 39 and a half or 40 to make it effective, and so that becomes a very costly decision. So I often get the question, is this good enough, should I power this one up, etc., etc.? And the real answer is that you should power up your best one, and whenever that tournament comes, and you obviously want to practice with it because it becomes useful in practice. You want to know the timing, and all these situations become like reflexes, but at the end of the day, if you need a Bastiodon, you should power up your best one up. But let's take a look at the situational analysis that I've produced that will help me drive on whether or not I have the correct IVs in order to have the Bastiodon be viable in the Kingdom Cup. So the overall conclusion, if you don't want to listen to the rest of this video, is that at level 39, you want to go 13 attack, 15 defense, and 12 stamina IV. And then if you go to level 40, you're at 12, 13, and 10. But I highly encourage you that you watch the rest of the video because I think it is pretty interesting. So what I've done here, the first situation is I want to KO an Ice Shard Lapras before the second surf comes. So, Bastiodon does hard counter Ice Shard Lapras, but there are situations where you don't only want to just beat it, you want to beat it by a wider margin so that way you're inflicting more damage to the next Pokemon or saving that Pokemon for the future. So that way you maintain your lead. So in this case, what I initially did was I looked at the optimal Lapras. This is like the very best version of Lapras given its product of stats. But that became a little bit unrealistic because, Ice Shard's a legacy moveset. Oftentimes you need to trade it, it'll become lucky. Oftentimes people want something good for it, so oftentimes it becomes a special trade, or they want to wait for Ultra Friends, etc., etc. So what I've settled on is actually analyzing using the 10th best Ultra Friends trade version of Lapras, which is a 3, 11, 15, which maxes to 1495 at level 21 and a half, and 104 attack, 114 defense, and 180 stamina. So some important facts here is that Ice Shard generates 10 energy per Ice Shard, but takes 2 turns, and then Surf requires 40 energy, which means that it only takes 4 Ice Shards to power up Surf, and that means that if we want to KO the Lapras before it gets off its second Surf, we have to do that by being able to KO it with 8 Smackdowns and then 1 Stone Edge to prevent the second Surf. So the way I've done it here is that I've basically done a series of calculations, and these calculations are no different than if you're familiar with the raid damage formula or the gym battle damage formula. It's the exact same thing except for with one additional multiplier. So I've taken the base attack of Bastiodon plus its IVs, times it by its CPM, the CP multiplier applicable to the level, and then I've divided it by the effective defense of Lapras at that level in that IV distribution. And then I've multiplied by 1.3, which is applicable to trainer battles / PvP. And then times 0.5, which is just part of the formula, times 1.6, which is super effective, times 1.2, which is same type attack bonus because Smackdown is a rock move, and then Bastiodon is a rock Pokemon. And then I round it down and add 1, and then each Smackdown will do 12 damage at level 38, 15 attack IV. And then we do the same thing with Stone Edge. And then I calculate the number of Smackdowns it will take to faint Lapras. And you'll see here, what I've done here is I've taken the stamina, 180, minus the applicable damage that Stone Edge does, and then divided it by Smackdown, and then rounded it up. And that will calculate how many Smackdowns I need to in order to faint the Lapras. So this is actually the optimal one, and this is the Ultra Friends one. So don't worry about the numbers above. So here I see at level 40, the attack IV should be 12, and we can take a look at that particular situation. So we see we have a Lapras here at 3, 11, 15, a level 21 and a half, and then we have a level 40 Bastiodon here with 12 attack. And you'll see here that it faints it before the second surf is able to come. And then if we get to this situation here, then you'll see here with one less attack, Ivy is able to get off a second surf because it's able to survive with 1 HP against the Bastiodon. So you go from a very dominant win to a little bit less dominant win, still 1/3 of the health as opposed to having 2/3 of the health. So that's situation 1. If we were to conclude and summarize on this analysis, if you're going to level 40, all you need is a minimum of 12 attack IV. If you go to level 39, you need 13. If you go to level 38, you need 14 attack IV. And now moving on to situation 2, we want to be able to survive a flamethrower, assuming we got 2 Smackdowns completed and we get hit by 4 Dragon Breaths, which results in HP loss of 4. So imagine the scenario: it's Bastiodon versus Altaria. Could be the beginning of the match, could be the middle of the match, and your opponent is slow to switch and tries to get off a few Dragon Breaths, built up some energy, and then they realize they need to switch to Lucario. And the question here is, before you switch out your Bastiodon, can you get off a flamethrower and inflict a lot of damage to your opponent, or will you be stuck with wasted energy and a fainted Bastiodon? So what I've done here is I've taken the ideal Lucario stats, 1, 15, 15. Again, this is pretty generous for Lucario because it's pretty unlikely that it's going to get this kind of stat distribution, but still, it's still effective for this analysis. And it's going to run counter and power up punch to take care of the Bastiodon, and each counter does 8 damage as base. It takes 1 turn, and each power up punch does 40 damage. So we know that in this situation, Bastiodon is going to faint on the 8th. We want it to faint on the 8th or later counter. So it's going to do 5 counters, do a power up punch, and then do a series of counters until it faints Bastiodon, assuming it doesn't shield power up punch. So what we want to do is that Bastiodon needs 8 more turns in order to generate enough energy to get off a flamethrower. So what we've done here is we've calculated the effective defense and HP at level 38, 39, and 40 subsequently, and we've calculated the damage that counter does pre-power punch, post-power punch, and how much power punch does, and we've calculated the number of turns it takes to faint a Bastiodon. So we can see here anything that's 8 or greater is good for us, and you'll see here that, for example, at level 38 you need a minimum 14 defense IV and 13 HP, and then that applies to 12 HP IV as well, since the HP doesn't change when it goes from 12 to 13. And then you'll see here that for level 39 we can go a little further down and go down to 11 HP IV, as long as defense IV is 12 or greater, or 12 HP and greater with 10 or greater defense IV. And then you'll see for level 40 we can have any 10 plus, 10 plus for defense and HP IV. So let's actually look at a couple scenarios here on PvPoke. So for example, here at level 38 at 14 defense IV and 13 HP IV against the Lucario with 1 15 15. So here we want, at level 38, we want, what do we want? We want 14 defense and 13 stamina. And then we want the HP to be at 126, and then we want 16 energy because each Smackdown generates 8 energy. So if we run this analysis, you'll see that we're able to get off a flamethrower, and you'll see that the match is very close and that Lucario only has 8 HP left, which actually becomes like from if, for example, we were to reduce the defense IV by 1, and then I gotta make sure that the HP updates here. You'll see that it goes from a 911 win to whatever 565. So it becomes a dramatically different win in situation here where Lucario is left with majority of its health left. So you'll see like how critical these certain breakpoints are. Obviously, you don't know exactly the IVs that the Lucario is going to have, but you can at least control what IVs you have for your Bastiodon. And so you can see here our conclusion for this particular section is that you at level 40 you want 10 or greater. At level 39 you want 11 HP if the again like actually let's go here. So if you want 11 if you want 12 and then you want if it's 11 HP you want 12 or 13. And then if it becomes level 38 you want 12 or 13 HP. Actually, I think this is 12 or 13 HP. You want 14 or 15 defense IV as I pointed out here. And then the third situation here is you want to tie in a mirror match. So again, it's a good Bastiodon with 13 attack, 13 defense, and 13 stamina HP. So not the best one, but a very good one that you'll typically see in the Kingdom Cup. Some variation of this or very close to it. So it goes to level 40 and has an attack at 84.56, defense of 236.3, and a stamina of 132. And what we know here is that Flamethrower does 90 damage at base, and Flamethrower is obviously neutral to Bastiodon because it's super effective against the steel typing, but resisted by the rock typing. And then as well, there's no same type attack bonus. So what we want to figure out here is what is the applicable breakpoints for defense and level associated with Flamethrower. So for example, here at 12 defense IV and 40 level 40, it's going to do 22 damage. So the conclusion here is that if you go level 40, you want minimum 13 defense IV. If you go level 39.5, you want 14. And if you want level 39, you want 15. That's why I didn't end up including level 38 in my final analysis, because it ended up resulting in you losing the mirror match. So if we go here against a Bastiodon, okay, well, did I just move this around? So let's go a Bastiodon with 13, 13, and then 13. And for example, here we want a minimum 15 defense. So for example, here if we go, we want minimum. Well, actually, we want a minimum 13 defense. So if we go 13 defense here, and we were to run through this scenario, you'll see that it actually results in a slight win. Again, I'm like, this is a win or a better because obviously the stamina is higher. Here, let's say the stamina is the same. You'll see here that it results in a tie, which is what you want, or a win. But if I go to 12 here, and you'll see that Flamethrowers each do 21. You'll see that, well, I have the slight HP advantage here. Actually, let me just slightly adjust this here. How do I have the slight? Okay. Okay, there you go. Some of these product stats are weird, but anyways, so we run with the same HP. You'll see that the opposing Bastiodon, the one with 13, 13, 13, ends up winning because it's able to do 22 damage on Flamethrower. Which, you know, if you end up in a situation at the very end where it's Bastiodon versus Bastiodon, you don't want to end up in a situation where your Bastiodon is worse or slightly worse than their Bastiodon and hits that critical breakpoint, and you end up losing the match. So the overall final conclusion is, again, power up your best Bastiodon when you need it, if you need it. In this cup, like, you probably do need it to be successful in the tournament. It's not an absolute must, but it is a really useful and meta-defining Pokemon. But hopefully with some of these calculations, it will help you at least come to the conclusion on you can at least be comfortable that this is going to be good in most scenarios. Obviously, there's edge cases and you know, extreme attack versions or extreme defense versions that are going to beat some of these situations here, but this will give you really good coverage against most of the meta related to the situational analysis around Bastion. So again, if you guys like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see everyone in the next video.